So this one here is a bit interesting. Now, there's always talk about World Mobile connecting the unconnected, and to actually talk to some of the people that are building around World Mobile, I think is super interesting. And Collin here is joining me to talk about their project and how they're actually connecting communities that have no or very little cell phone mobile connections to connect to the rest of the world. And Mav100 is the project he's working on with his brother. And this is super, super cool. So, Collin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me here, Pete. This is awesome. I love what you guys are doing with Cardano Press. We're using that right now to bootstrap our website and kind of get started with it. And yeah, I've been obviously in there getting help from you guys, and we're going to be adding a lot of functionality with that here pretty soon.
Yeah. And that's essentially how I found out about your project. People come in and say, we're building a website using Cardano Press. I've got no idea what you guys are building. But then you dig a little bit deeper, give a little bit of support, and you go, oh, wow, this is actually really cool what you guys are doing. And you gave me a little rundown with your brother the other week about the project and what you guys are actually achieving. Can you talk through what the project is so that everyone else knows what you guys are up to?
What we've done is we've gone into schools, and our problem was to find a way to get kids into crypto. And kids, they're under 18. They can't go onto centralized exchanges. Their parents think it's a scam. So they have no real way to get into crypto as such. But what we've found is that you can donate equipment to them. And so people give them like hot dog cookers and popcorn machines, and they can sell hot dogs at football games, and they can sell popcorn. They can sell magazine subscriptions that nobody wants. So what we did is we gave them a computer and helped them start an SPO. And then we got some delegation to it, and the SPO runs, and it made over $2,000 over the last 4 months for the student club. And the next step we're taking that to is we're taking an AirNode or a cell phone tower. We give it to them. We teach them how to set it up, how to use it, and give them some phones. And now they have their own cell phone network. And World Mobile is basically going live right now. They're starting in the U.S. officially, and they've started in several other countries around the world a sharing economy based around telecommunications, so that anybody can go buy an AirNode, install it, they run it, and then all the data that goes across there's profit sharing, basically revenue sharing. So the people run the AirNode, the people run the Earth node that does the validation for the network, and then there's the ISP backhaul, all that. Now it's not, instead of being a big centralized company like AT&T that owns everything from top to bottom, there's all these people in between, and it's a sharing economy. And so what we're doing is we're going in, we go to students, we give them this equipment, we teach them how to use it. Now they're part of the economy. And then revenues come into the schools, it goes to their student club. And then what we do with that is we have the students go out and install these things, and we pay them to install a network around the community. And if you send a kid into a business and say, hey, I would like to put a cell phone tower here, and would you like to buy in? And that is universally accepted. Like, people come in, they're trained to say yes to students. And what we have when we built this network is we basically crowdfund through NFTs, right? So we sell a seed NFT, we take the revenues, we buy equipment, then we go install it, and now all the people who bought those NFTs, now they're members of the cooperative association. They're the owners of the network. And now the community owns the network. There's the students, they have some towers that goes to support the students. And it's an organic kind of way of pushing adoption. Because now we've got almost 100 people in the community who we're making wallets for. We're telling them about how their membership NFT works and how Cardano works. And now that's really like the wedge that we use to get in. And it's driving adoption in this community. And that template's just going to, it's obviously, whenever anyone hears about it, it's going to work. This is how we're going to drive mass adoption. And once we get that foot in the door, then, there's art clubs in the schools, right? Kids love to draw. Well, we've got a dozen NFT communities. Have those guys go in and show them how to start an art collection, sell NFTs in the local area. That's the kind of thing where we're going to bring people into this blockchain.
That is so cool. That is kids going around selling mobile phone networks and connectivity for the community is so much better than selling magazines, subscriptions. Here we have like a Freddo Frog fundraisers. So the kids will go around selling chocolate frogs to raise funds. It's sure, it's nice, but that's not going to create a sustainable and a continuous revenue. Whereas there's mobile phone towers and people using the network, and then the kids owning the network afterwards. That's really cool. And
the
then
community owns the network, right?
Yeah, that
so
is so
people
cool.
In the community, we go out and we say, hey, buy in here right now. They're signing a contract, right? Because they don't have a wallet. They don't have ADA. They heard about all this crypto stuff, but it was Sam Bankman-Fried trying to take their money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now they're finding out what crypto really is and what Web3 can really do. And one of those things, like Costco is a cooperative association, right? Everybody knows who Costco is. You go in, you get a membership. You have different tiers of memberships. You get little rewards at the end, but mostly that's just to say, we have 1 million members or 10 million members or 100 million members. Give us cheaper prices on food, and then people go in and buy stuff for cheaper, right? A different sort of model is treetop apple juice, right? And I don't know if you probably don't know, but basically,
No.
Treetop Apple Juice Company. We grew up on a farm, and you grow fruit and you want to sell it fresh because that's what you get the most money for. But like all the bruised and hurt fruit, frost marked, whatever, it doesn't sell well on the produce stand. So you go and you send it to the juicer. They turn it to juice. They sell the juice. They get money, and then they distribute it to the members. And that's just like that model is perfect for Web3 because now we can take an NFT, and we're starting with our seed NFTs, and everybody who buys this NFT, that represents membership in our cooperative association. And the way that the Cardano blockchain works is, and I'm learning all these things. I keep saying we need to be able to do this and this, and someone like Phil from NM Makers are like, oh, here, just do this curl command. And you get a snapshot of where all the NFTs are in wallets. And then you can just use this wallet, send a list down, and you put the amount that you're going to distribute evenly between all of these NFTs, and bam, it's gone. And like I was agonizing over this for a day, like writing up plans on how I'm going to build a website and how I'm going to get this money distributed to the members. And then he just comes out in the chat and it's like, oh, okay. And it's the power of this blockchain. Like we have all these solutions and ways to organize our communities on fundamental levels that we just need to start getting it out there. And that's the real power of this. And that's,
there's so many benefits using blockchain. It just makes sense. And we know it because we're in the industry. But how much does it cost to set up an AirNode? And how much funds do you need to raise through these like seed NFTs to get the hardware, install it? I'm assuming you need like a technician to install it as well. I can't see the kids climbing up ladders and installing these AirNodes, essentially mobile phone towers in the community themselves. Or can they?
They are. Yeah. No, the kids are totally out installing these. And the World Mobile is obviously helping out, but one thing that is kind of, you can go up right now and you can get open source 4G cores, and you could set up, like, there's farms that are setting up 4G LTE networks right
Yeah.
now. Just, it takes a bit of technical knowledge. Like, someone's not just going to go out there and grab this thing and throw it up. It's going to take, a week or so of research and such, but it is doable. It's doable for most people. Like, you can go out and do it, but there is so much other overhead around it. And the thing that I really appreciate about what World Mobile has done is, like, there are certain barriers to getting into telecoms, right? There's the main one is having that core, that LGT, the 4G LTE core, the 5G core. You can go get those, but it's still pretty expensive to get a custom solution. But they're just offering it up essentially for free. There obviously there's going to be some profit sharing, but you buy one of these AirNodes, you hook it in, you just need an internet connection. So that's pretty easy, and they've got it set up right now to where you can pretty much just plug and play. But there's the other stuff too. Like, you have to go find a place for it, you have to put it up, you have to get them up high. Like, the main thing about cell phone towers is getting them up high, and it's just how RF propagates. And that would be a kind of a boring discussion. That was what I did in the army.
Yeah.
Was hunted people down by their cell phones. So it's like, I get a signal and it's like, I think it's this direction based on what's in the way. And so, you have to get the tower up high, right? And other than that, it's mostly just working together as a community to put these things at advantageous locations. And then you have to talk about backhaul. So yeah, there's a lot of overhead. What World Mobile did is they took out the spectrum thing, right? So right now we're working on CBRS, but they're gonna go up and get spectrum for different states. Right now they have 4 states of spectrum. And the other thing they did is they set it up for the core. So they've massively reduced the barriers to entry. And what we're trying to do is take the barriers to entry down to zero.
You have to explain what the spectrum and the core are for some people that don't
Right.
understand the licenses and frequencies that you guys need.
Certainly. So basically there's 4 parts to the cell phone network. There's the internet, like the internet connection, and there's usually an optical network terminal that you go in, you plug into that, and you get to the fiber core, like the actual data infrastructure. So, you have to go through an ISP and some sort of internet service provider. You plug in your eNode to the internet service provider. And then there's the eNode, which takes the information from the internet. It's a digital signal, right? So they push stuff out like email or text, but in this case, they push stuff up and it gets the eNode. And the eNode takes it and it wiggles electrons, right? It sends that out to an antenna, and the antenna puts out the signal that your cell phone reads, and that's the user layer, right? So when I'm talking about the spectrum part, you're talking about the user layer, and you have the antenna, and then you have your cell phone, and um, when your phone connects to the tower, there's a handshake between the two, and it's a two-way. So depending on the band, and the bands that they use, they're mostly in the 1,000 to 3,000 megahertz. Sorry, get those mixed up sometimes. But CBRS is out at 3,600, and that was an old Navy band that the Navy used. And obviously, they said, "Oh, well, the Navy's kind of not in the middle of the country, so almost all of the country can use this space." And so there's the CBRS band, which is the Citizens Broadcast Radio Spectrum, I believe. but it's citizens broadcast. So anybody can use it. There's 3 tiers of people, users on CBRS. There's the Navy and the government. They obviously get first picks. And then there's the PALs. You have to kind of pay money, and there's a registration process. And then as long as you're not interfering with them, there's the third tier, which is kind of where we're at right now. But if you go around the country, there's almost nowhere where you can't use this. In fact, I would venture to say pretty much nowhere, because there's this much spectrum, and if people have part of it locked up, you just use this much down here, or you use the top part of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about spectrum, and I have a thing, if you go on to Mav100.com, there's a button up there that says AirNode Basics, and that goes down through the whole thing that I kind of just described. It also goes into how you actually send a digital signal over radio frequency, and then it goes into what the eNode does, and it goes into plugging it into the internet service provider or the ONT if you have a direct optical network terminal hookup. And so when we're talking about the spectrum, in the United States, the biggest barrier is spectrum. And a company like World Mobile going in there and taking that barrier out and giving us this space to move is really important.
That's
And I hope that
major.
kind of answered your
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it totally does. And I'll reference the website as well. So if anyone wants to learn more about that, they can jump onto Mav100 and get a better understanding of how the AirNodes and all those technical aspects work. I find it really fascinating myself. A lover of all the tech side of things, and getting into Cardano because of the tech side to learn about how all these bits of infrastructure that we take for granted all work. So love the explanation. So thank you so much for that. Now, what about the maintenance costs and everything around that as well? Like I know people will be using the network, it'll be generating revenue and stuff, but maybe not at first. Maybe it's not profitable at first. Maybe it is. I don't know. How do you maintain this to make sure that you can keep it there and that more users are coming onto the network and using it overall?
Right. So that's actually one of the things that I really gets me going is our trade school program. And what we do is right now we have kids going out and installing this tower. We have one tower right now. We've installed it in a bunch of test locations. And when our network comes in, we ordered a bunch of stuff from World Mobile. That'll be here soon. They'll go to each of those locations and they're installing it. And we have people who know how to, tradespeople, skilled tradespeople. They teach the kids how to do it. They become skilled tradespeople. They teach the next group of kids how to do it. And then it's a pattern, right? So we just keep that going. And part of the revenue sharing, so obviously World Mobile set up a sharing economy, right? So they have costs, they have to maintain their network, and they're partnered with all the AirNode owners. So there's people who use that AirNode, and revenue comes in, and they get money for trafficking that data, and then they share it out to the AirNode owners. What we're doing is we've set up the cooperative association, and so World Mobile has revenues that sends out to the AirNode owners. They send it to our cooperative association. Now, what we do is we say, all right, these are the costs. The people, the students have to bill their hours, so they're going to bill the association. The association will pay that off out of those revenues, and I don't want to say it's just like any other business, but it is. It's obviously organized in a Web3 way, but through the bylaws and through the way that we form the business, one of my goals, and we're working on this, is to create a trustless corporation, if that makes sense. And
It does make
that's
sense.
going to be hard. Like there's a lot of things that are going on there, and right now people are putting their trust in us. because that's just, they have to, right? And that's how you start a business. What we eventually want to get to is a trustless company. And that's what we're starting to set up here. So the kids are going to go out, they're going to do the maintenance, and then they're going to bill their hours. And it's just, all of those kind of costs and payments are going to be set up in bylaws so that they're covered. And then the second part of that is we want to set up DREPs as board members of the community association, right? The cooperative association. So people who own the NFTs at some point, and you're going to help us out with this, that's why one of the reasons for this is we have these NFTs, and if you delegate to the local community association stake pool and you support the kids in the school, now you get to be a part of the DAO that elects board members that run the telecommunications network. And, so the whole thing, we're building this around the Web3 paradigm. And
Very cool.
Yeah, all of it's, I'm trying to be good about it, but it's exciting. It solves,
it totally
solves historical problems, things that have plagued our society for thousands of years. How do you get good leaders? How do you keep a small number of people from owning everything? We get to try to solve those problems. And I think this one will actually work.
I guess this is a testing ground. Where is this testing ground that you're building everything?
Leavenworth, Washington. It is a small community. About 3,000 to 5,000 people live there full time. The issue with it is that it's a very popular tourist location. So Airbnbs are kind of just taking over the place, and the hotels and the people who own houses are having all those fights, right? But it's Leavenworth, Washington, and the kicker is that during December they have this thing called Christmas lighting. And during Christmas lighting, about 30 to 50 to 60,000 people, the numbers change every year. 30 to 60,000 people descend on this town of 3 to 5,000 every weekend. And
wow,
it is an absolute zoo. For people who grew up there, it's, when you grow up near one of those places, like, right.
But I can imagine.
It's awesome for the community, obviously, because they make money and everybody benefits from it. So during December, they crash the network every year, just flat out.
I can imagine.
Right.
Everyone on social media trying to take those photos and posting videos immediately. It would just kill the network.
So we're hopeful that once we get the network up and we start, it's standing room only over about a square mile of people just walking between shops and beer gardens, and so it's in Leavenworth, Washington, Chelan County. There's a few other things that are kind of important about that. It's where we grew up. That area, our public utility district, owns 3 hydroelectric dams. So,
what?
Yeah, and it's publicly community owned. So I grew up thinking that 2 cent per kilowatt hour electricity was normal. And
it's not. It definitely isn't.
Right? So I get out here and, down in Alabama, and I'm like, 11, 13, what is this fresh hell that I've joined into? But, they still have cheap electricity. Even in now, our electricity bill up here locally is just going up every year. It's ridiculous. But theirs isn't, because it's community owned. So that kind of community ownership is natural to that area, and they're used to cooperative associations. It's a farming community, so they've had a bunch of cooperative associations, and so that part is helping us get that out there. And it's part of why when we came up with it, I think that it was easy for us to this is a good idea. This is how we organized here. But look at what we can do with Web3.
You're essentially modernizing what the communities used to already with those cooperative communities. How on earth did the community get to own the hydroelectric dams? Like that's usually a government or a state or federal kind of projects.
I'm going to have to look up the history on that, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it had to do with depression, building projects, and it might have been post-war. I'm not sure exactly when they were, but after World War II, there were a lot of big building projects. And back then, when these dams were built, our federal government was all about building things for communities and helping communities build up. Obviously, it's different today,
Mhm.
but all these things like that used to be what government was about, and what when you have a social contract, you somehow choose leaders, and those leaders are supposed to do things for the benefit of the community. And when those dams were built, everybody's like, yeah, this is a good idea. This is going to produce cheap electricity for everybody in this area. This is going to help out the people in this area.
And now it's about profit. Really, it's if we're going to build a dam, it has to make money, and we have to charge people X amount for like electricity to make the profit back. And at
And I
least you're
don't want
now
to get
taking
into the
away.
conspiracy stuff,
Yeah.
but they're not
Okay.
talking about building dams anymore. They're talking about blowing them up.
Oof.
And no, like the Snake River, they blew up that's another one down in southeast Washington state. They actually took out some dams that were generating electricity for the communities and providing um, irrigation water for farmers. And it's come back the other way. People are using the government to reduce standards of living. So, um, I don't want to get too much into the political stuff. I know that tends to derail things like this, but um,
Yeah.
the environmentalists will be after me, and it'll be sorry. But back in the day when those dams were built, that was what government was supposed to do, was to help people get cheap electricity, better standard of living. So we're kind of going back to that. And, just kind of expand on that a little bit. One of the things, it won't be necessary in this community that we're working in, but as we go out to other communities, what happens if we start a community association that manages a miniature nuclear plant? Or we start a community association that runs a windmill farm for the community to generate electricity, and we don't have to go to these giant subsidized centralized electricity builders. So this what our project is right now. We're pretty laser focused on getting telecommunications out there and then proving the concept of being able to move out. But the fundamental renegotiation of the social contract that Web3 promised, and that's what's at the bottom of our seed NFT is promises kept, is we're going to decentralize communities through this cooperative association model, and have community infrastructure owned at a basic level by the people around it who care about it, maintain it, benefit from it. It's the direction we want to take things.
I love the direction. I love the vision, and leveraging what World Mobile are building is definitely the way to go. And you're right. I can see this model once you've got it down packed and working for the community there. You can pick it up, move it to other communities around the states. You can take it different parts of the world. Of course, you need to adapt it for those particular other countries and how their spectrums work, how their regulations and everything else work. But the whole model, and then using the blockchain and Web3 behind it to manage the payments and everything else around it, to manage the ownership, governance, and all that. Absolutely beautiful. It's a perfect use case for Web3 and blockchain. And I really hope people catch on to this one, learn about your model, and help you guys build it out, become part of the project, and see the vision and roadmap get fulfilled.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's exactly what we're here for, and I'm also here to get my website fixed, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll help you with that. Don't worry about that. Yeah, last question here. What's on the next part of the roadmap? How can the community get involved in it and help you guys fulfill this vision?
Well, right now, so what we're doing right now is we're selling the seed NFTs. And there are what it is the Mobile Cooperative Association. And what we're doing with the funds that we raise with these seed NFTs is we're buying towers from World Mobile, and these are meant to be like a mobile network. So we're installing them in the community, but we're also going to be able to pick them up and move them out to another community. So what we're doing right now with the seed NFTs and the Mobile Cooperative Association is this is kind of the icebreaker or the pattern stamper. So anybody who wants to get involved, it's as easy as buying one of our seed NFTs, and then you're a member of the cooperative association. And what we're doing as this cooperative association, the Mobile Cooperative Association, is we go to the next community and we say, hey, would you like us to start up a mobile telecommunications network here? And we take this mobile network and we put it in and we kind of bootstrap the community. Because right now, what we're doing in Leavenworth is we're going to put these towers up. We're going to cover Leavenworth for, during December because it gets completely overwhelmed. And then we're also going to go around and we're going to say, we should put a permanent tower here, 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 and here. We'll set up temporary places for when you have massive influxes of tourists here. And we're going to set up a localized plan for how they want to build their network. Because AT&T, let's just say AT&T cares and they want to give the best service for their customers, or Verizon, they want to give the best service for all their customers and they're going to try their hardest. They're still a centralized organization. And they don't have time to go out to Leavenworth and say, what do you guys actually need? Oh, you have this dead
Yeah.
space over here on 2nd Street. Everybody complains about it. They don't have time, even if they wanted to, and we can discuss whether or not they want to. But a local organization is going to just put together a better cell phone network because they know where it is. They know when there's a bunch of tourists coming in. They know when they need extra help. So we can set it up and have these towers, the permanent ones. And then every now and then there's a huge festival, put in 10 extra towers. And then when that moves on, we go out to the Gorge, which is it's a concert venue out, about an hour away from Leavenworth. And there's 30 to 40 weekends every year where 20,000 people descend on this completely uninhabited thing. It's kind of like Burning Man. It's out in the middle of the desert, has a beautiful view of the Columbia River, and it's a great place. And, they have big name concerts out there, and 20,000 people truck themselves over from Seattle on these weekends to go to these concerts. AT&T is not going to take the time to go put up 10 extra towers and cover that. So people get out there and they have fun, and they don't have cell service. They don't mind because they're usually, but they would like to have cell service. So these kind of things, knowing the local area, we can set up a local community co-op, and that co-op can be like, oh, we have a fair over here on this weekend. There's going to be 5,000 people a day in this normally uninhabited space. We're going to move some stuff over here. And it's an organic way to decentralize the community and to decentralize the network. And now it's not just AT&T sucking $5 million a month out of this community. It's a community that has better services and reaps the rewards of owning their own network.
Majorly cool. Collin, Absolutely love the vision. Really hope you guys get this executed and working for the Christmas period. That's probably
Oh
the
yeah,
first priority, and
it
I'd
is.
love to see that all in action as well. Hopefully, you guys are taking videos and everything of that and sharing it through.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it, and thank you for helping us out. And that's one of those things is we're going out to the community right now, and it's supportive too. This is what the Cardano community, much of it's been looking for is like when, right? Everybody's hitting the when button, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
is Cardano going to, because we have all these awesome projects and a lot of them are DeFi, and that's good. We need DeFi, but we also need to get something that gets people in here and sees this space, because it's a really, there's really good people here and there's so many good solutions, and just taking all of them and putting them into an organized paradigm. And that's, I was talking in another space, that's what Web3 is actually all about, is this is an organizational tool. This is a way that we're going to be able to organize our society and negotiate our social contracts to where we can change the small number of people own everything and we elect terrible leaders problem. And those are the two main problems that really we need to solve as society, as a race, as people. The next step is we're going to go to Leavenworth, and they're going to start their own cooperative association. And we're going to do another local one in Leavenworth. And the thing about the seed NFTs is the it's going to operate the same as the local community, but what the seed NFT owners are going to get a chance to buy into every community cooperative that we create. So we're going to start in Leavenworth. We're going to
right.
build a permanent one. And seed NFT owners are going to get a chance to buy some of that. Obviously, we're going to focus on giving the local area as much ownership as we can. But these seed NFT owners, we're going to be going around and putting these in everywhere across the country and hopefully across the world. And seed NFT owners are going to get a chance to buy into every one of these communities. So that's the second main functionality of this. Other than you own a whole bunch of hardware equipment that generates revenue, you're also going to be able to invest in all of these communities that we start as we move this forward.
All right, Colin. Thank you so much for joining me on the episode. It's
Yep.
been enlightening learning all these aspects of what you guys are building, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the pictures and images coming out of Leavenworth and what you guys put together for the community.
Thank you, man. It has been awesome.
Right.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.